friends, and today we've got another update for you on the Mazda 3 MPS Gen 2. Obviously this is the 2.3 litre front wheel drive, 6-speed manual transmission, direct injection turbo engine car. We've recently just done a custom tune for this particular client, and it's a really good example for you to understand if you're driving one of these cars. You may have modified it, you may have updated it, or you may be just looking to decide what you're going to do. This client recently purchased it second hand only a couple of weeks ago, and it already had a modified cold air intake and a modified turbo back exhaust, which is obviously one of the great ways of improving the performance of the car. But what I wanted to show you, and as you can see in these pictures of these performance parts that have been added by the previous owner, is there's a bit of a misunderstanding on when you should do them. Some people think that you should put the mechanical parts on first and then get the car tuned. But I want you to understand that from a long-term point of view, this can actually cost you more, because whilst you're driving the car or enjoying having fun with these mechanical parts fitted to the car actually is not running as reliably or as fuel efficiently as what it should. It can be doing too much boost, which will damage the turbo on this particular model, because above a certain boost level, these cars will blow turbos because they're not a very big turbo. Can be running too much ignition timing, which can cause the engine to ping and cause crown damage on the piston, and can pound the big end bearings and main bearings, and then eventually cause bearing failure. But generally overall, the car is just not healthy because the ECU doesn't know that mechanically the car has been changed. And of course it doesn't go as good as what it should. From a performance point of view, it's always a good idea to either get these mechanical parts and the tune fitted at the same time with an EcuTeK ECU update for a custom tune of the factory ECU, or do the custom ECU tune of the car first, drive the car, have fun, because remember, these are torque limited or power limited, first, second, third and fourth gear, as well as torque angle limited from the steering angle input, which you can feel when you drive the car factory standard. And you may find just an ECU XA kit from us will actually give you the power and torque that you want, and you may not need to spend any more money on other mechanical changes to air intake and exhaust. And that there lends me to the next thing. As you can see in this picture, this car has got a modified air intake. Unfortunately, to the disappointment of this owner, I reminded him that this air intake with this level of modification adds no power to the car, leaves it to a greater chance of being defected if he gets pulled over by the police. Maybe where you are in the world it may not be an issue, but unless you do a major modification with big turbo upgrade, front mount intercooler, and then internal engine mods to give you the reliability to flow the air that this engine needs to take advantage of, the factory air intake actually is not a restriction. So don't think about putting a modified air intake on your car will give you an immediate improvement in performance. If you do get a change in performance, normally it's because it's changing the signal to the airflow meter sensor, which is sending the wrong signal to the ECU, which could be causing it to run too lean, too rich, the wrong boost figures or something like that. And getting back to the original point, with a factory standard airbox and just a factory standard ECU retube with the EcuTeK custom software, you can actually get more grunt with the standard airbox, with the car looking stock, and without having to spend the money on buying a modified air intake in the first place. Now this is going to upset a few people out there in the modified parts world, but my job is to tell you the facts, and I want you to understand the order of what you should be doing with these performance upgrades. If you look at our website with the power kit document for this car, or go to the performance parts section of our website, then click on the link to engine modification guide, we can actually tell you the best value in order of when to fit the parts to give you the best bang for your buck. What I wanted to quickly also let you know in the middle of this video is the vital piece of equipment that often a lot of people don't understand what this is. It's effectively a big windsock. Now what this does is pump air to the top mount intercooler, which we use a lot on obviously Mazda MPS's and Subarus because of the top mount intercooler. If you're getting your car tuned at a workshop that doesn't have a dedicated blower of the capacity of this, which is quite a few thousand CFM, ask yourself the question on how reliable some of the tuning is, because if that workshop doesn't have a good way of ducting air to the intercooler, after a constant load, the intercooler will actually heat soak in a power run, and after multiple runs on an engine loading point of view, you won't get the same inlet charge temperature that you would by driving the car on the road. This intercooler sock allows us to do more tuning in less period of time than any other typical workshop with a similar capacity dyno, because of the ability of dedicating air specifically to the intercooler only. And on the data logging with our EcuTeK software, it's actually quite surprising how big a difference it has. And we've actually done an independent test where we've actually turned it off and just run normal airflow across the top of the bonnet, or even with the bonnet open, and it's quite noticeable the difference. So just one little thing, how we go out of our way to do a tip-top job when it comes to tuning your car on our dyno. Of course, there is a modified aftermarket bigger top mount intercooler. You can get front mount intercoolers, and on the subject of front mount intercoolers, whilst the intercooler will cool the air better on long duration heavy throttle use like at a track, the top mount intercooler generally will only heat soak on a stinking hot day in stop-start traffic. Once you get a bit of road speed through it, this intercooler will be fine, because it's very rare on the road that you're going to have your foot flat to the floor for long periods of time, where it's going to be putting a lot of temperature load on the factory standard intercooler, which is obviously then when a front mount intercooler will take over and give you better charge air inlet. The downside of a larger front mount on these particular models, both Gen 1 and Gen 2, is as soon as you put a big front mount with a standard turbo, you've got a larger area to fill, so the charge fill rate takes longer, which means you actually add lag, because a little turbo can't fill the larger capacity intercooler quick enough. And remember, every time you take your foot on and off the accelerator, you're experiencing that lag and that charge fill delay time. So whilst you've got your foot flat to the floor and you've got charge going through the intercooler, yes, the intercooler will work better, but more often than not, that is not the real world driving conditions of these cars. So therefore, the only time that you would want to fit a larger front mount intercooler onto these cars is after you put a bigger turbo on. The only time you would put a bit of turbo in is if you've already experienced turbo failure and you want to upgrade it to a larger, a better quality turbo than the factory one. But remember, you can't run more than a certain amount of boost with the factory standard pistons and rods than what even the factory standard turbo can pump. This particular car's got standard internals, so we've pegged the boost limit at a certain amount of boost, but the reliability that you can get with this internal parts of this engine is at a certain boost level. The factory standard turbo will run out of boost at high RPM. An aftermarket bigger turbo will allow you to run that maximum boost level right through to the RPM threshold of the rev limiter, but you can't run more boost than what the pistons and rods will take, because obviously that's when they start failing rods in this engine. So from a summary point of view, in order of value, custom tune the factory ECU, then do the front half of the exhaust system. Ironically, this car's got a complete exhaust. It's a nice exhaust, but you didn't actually have to change the back half. Then if you want more grunt to give you more peak power in the high RPM, but no more boost than what you can reliably run with the reliable rods of the factory standard engine internals, you would then change the turbo. Then you'll start needing to change the cold air intake, because the factory standard airbox will be a restriction. Then you can put a bigger front mount intercooler on it to take advantage of the added capacity of those larger components. So there you have it. Some really simple ways. I hope I haven't confused you on what you can do with your Gen 1 or Gen 2 MPS. Effectively, whether it's a Gen 1 or Gen 2, the modification levels are very, very similar. And of course, wherever you are in the world, there's a whole heap of ways you can improve your Mazda 3 MPS. Have a look at our track day photos, the track test by Motor Magazine. Download the parts list, go to our e-catalogue where you can find even more information about this car, and punch in your year, make and model and do a search on over 160,000 parts. And also obviously pick up the phone and send us an email, or wherever you are in the world. We're here to help you learn more about your Mazda, Mitsubishi or Subaru. And for today, I'm Brett Middleton. Thanks for watching.